All right, we've been hearing a lot about Donald Trump and his dalliance about he might bolt from the party. And a lot of folks seem to think, all right, he's not really a team player. But is that really because the team isn't being a fair player to the Donald? In other words, this talk about a cabal that's forming to take down Donald Trump to make sure, post Scott Walker, remember when he raised it, when he quit the race, to find an establishment consensus candidate to take this guy down because he'll take the party down if he gets even close to the nomination. Charlie Gasparino, Noel Nickpour with all of that. Charlie, what do you think?
Well, I should point out that the Fox Business Network was first to report back in, I think it was August, it was before Labor Day, that there was talk among the various campaigns, the establishment campaigns. We should point out that Walker was still in the race at that point, about an anti-Trump attack ad blitz. They would do it through their PACs, and now we're seeing the mainstream, we're seeing, I guess, the New York Times or the Washington Post picking up on that. I will say this, when I first broke that story, I broke it on your show at Fox News at 4 o'clock. We wrote something about it. The outrage by the Walker campaign, by the Rubio campaign, that we would actually report something like this. They tried to leak a story to Breitbart to say we got the story wrong. That's how, yes, that's how insane they were that we uncovered that first. And now as...
But if you're Donald Trump, and Noel Nickpour, if you're Donald Trump, whatever your opinions of him, and this has a validity of truth to it, I mean, everything Gasparino report says truth to it. But doesn't that exonerate this Trump somewhat that, look, if this is how the party's treating me, why am I being criticized for not being a team player?
Yes, exactly. And I think that this is why this is kind of both, taking Trump even further to the top, because a lot of Americans are angry, and they're angry a lot of times at the establishment. Look, they kind of, Bush represented the establishment, and you see how far down the line Bush actually is. As the base moves further and further to the right, you see that, a lot of American voters on the GOP like Donald Trump because he's not a conformist. And I think that's why a lot of the mega billionaire donors are angry, because they're angry of the fact that they don't have somebody that they have any control over. Look, this guy's not taking any money from anyone. And most of the guys, are used to being able to kind of have a politician, not really in their back pocket, but somebody that they can, kind of have some great dialogue with.
You mean in their back pocket?
Trump is out there.
Or in their influence in the debate. Now, one exception that might have been Frank Vandersloot, who I talked to just a short while ago, the billionaire donor. He was very big on the finance, I think, co-chair for Mitt Romney, right? And here's what he had to say about, I think, guys, that this is about Donald Trump, right? Let's take a listen.
I think that people disagree with his approach, and I don't think he is at all prepared to be president of the United States. And I think that will become more and more evident as they talk about what's going on an international basis.
Well, we've been hearing that now for how many months?
And now he's the first big billionaire, and there are others who might be sitting in the wing, the Sheldon Adelsons, the Koch brothers. He's moving now. This is the guy I think, if I finance and help out, will make a difference. Marco Rubio.
He's financing Marco Rubio. I wonder if it matters in this campaign. I will say this. I think it's better for
Donald Trump will use that against Rubio, right?
Of course.
You're in the hip pocket of these guys.
And Donald is better. It looks like he loses enthusiasm for this thing when you leave him alone. When you attack him, when you fight him, when you say you're going to run down, that's when you get his Irish up going. I will say this: after we wrote. No, I was. It's a term.
Gotcha. Well, I'm half Irish.
It's a cliche.
I'm offended. Right,
okay, but anyway, and I think Donald's German, to be honest with you. Sure. But in any event, when we first broke the story in the summer about this, Donald came on Maria's show. I was on the set with Maria, and he was talking about how, well, let him come after me. I'm going to go back after them. And there's, I'll go after Marco Rubio then. I mean, he relishes.
Do you think that's an accurate impression of Donald?
Donald, I heard, likes my impression.
Really?
He likes my impression.
I'm still thinking
it's better than
James
Joe
Cagney.
Piscopo. But anyway, I think he relishes the fight. If they do this attack ad on him, he's going to come back in spades.
Noel, you're a bundler. You know how to bundle money for candidates and work on that. There is that impression that you outlined it beautifully in the beginning here, that the rap against candidates who depend on that is that Donald Trump can go back out and say, you're bought and paid for. So $1 billion, or big one, Frank Vandersloot, comes out for Marco Rubio. Does that help or hurt Rubio? If you're an establishment candidate, you need money, and almost all the other candidates need money because they don't have Trump's fortune. What's so bad about that?
Neil, you're right, and Frank is right. This is what I'm hearing from a lot of the bundlers. I've talked to about 18 billionaire bundlers, and they are expressing the same views as Frank did. They're all very irritated that Trump is just kind of sitting here and he won't go away, and he doesn't look like he's going to go away.
Well, they all think he would go down in flames, that he'd lose. Who says?
But he's not. Look, he is not, and it's a reality.
But why isn't he?
The reason is because American voters are ticked off.
But it's not just that.
Americans
I agree with
ticked.
that. Nicole, I agree with that. But the brilliance of Trump is this, and I think you follow his recent controversy. He throws something out there. It's all these sort of vagaries. He just throws a bunch of stuff out there, which makes it sound like he's talking about having databases for Muslims.
Right.
But when you really come down to it, it's not. So we get 5 days of coverage about what he said or what he didn't say. He comes out. He says he didn't say it. You rewind the videotape. It doesn't sound like he really said it. Yet he sounds like he's the guy that is tough on all these sort of national security issues. That is his brilliance, and I don't think people.
So the establishment Republicans, if they thought they had a guy who could win and go all the way, they would back Lucifer, right? So
yes.
What I'm wondering, Noel, they're obviously panicked. These are smart guys. They don't become billionaires for being idiots. So they're worried that he is a sure loser for the Republicans, and getting the nomination will lead to like a Barry Goldwater blowout. Why did they say that?
I think that they are waiting. Who we're waiting on mainly is the Bush donor. The Bush donor is just kind of sitting in limbo. And I think a lot of the Cruz people and a lot of the Rubio people, because it looks like Rubio Cruz, if Trump kind of falters, that's going to be, you know, the go-between. And I think a lot of the donors are wondering, which one do I choose? And they're holding their
Well, Vandersloot might have moved.
But isn't it scary, though, Nicole, that their whole modus operandi, their whole strategy is on Donald folding, not them winning? I mean, this is fascinating. You know, they have to wait for this guy who's been playing with fire from the day he started running to fold, and he hasn't.
Well, they've been thinking of that. They've been playing that. All right, guys, we watch very closely, again, just to bring you up to date. Frank Vandersloot, the billionaire donor, the man who was so instrumental in the Mitt Romney campaign, a co-finance chair, has indeed committed to Marco Rubio. He had told me just a few minutes ago on this show that he thinks other billionaires might be holding their powder dry, keeping their wallet shut, but that Sheldon Adelson and the Koch brothers might soon follow. Who knows? You're watching Fox Business. Stick around.